Hello friends of TvAgro, at this moment we are in the Flamingo enclosure. My name is Daniel Bernal, I am the zoo technician of the Santacruz Zoo Foundation and currently head of animal health and welfare. At this moment in the back you can observe an intern rationing the beautiful flamingos. These animals consume crustaceans, they are seedling filter feeders, that is why their beaks are so particular. At the zoo what we offer them is carrots, we offer them hake, shrimp, trout, paprika and beet. We blend all this and we prepare the smoothie that the intern is offering. 3 diets are offered to these animals, because they need a good amount of food. These animals, if you see them, have a very nice coloration, very impressive. This is due to what? Because all the ingredients I mentioned have beta-carotenes. Beta-carotenes are synthesized from vitamin A, which helps the animals to promote such an intense coloration in their plumage. All the shrimp, hake, carrots, beets, all this provides us with this pigmentation. You see in the animals in optimal conditions, clearly there are variations. Because we have a group of 9 individuals, there are hierarchies. If you see the animal that has a much more dominant color is because it eats first and the one that marks its territory more, that is why there are these variations among them. These animals have a curious peculiarity and it is that they stand on only one leg because they block a muscle, and this is due to the fact that these animals weigh so little. They weigh about 3 to 4 kilos and these animals measure 1.40 centimeters. That is why they can take this particularity. At the moment of handling these animals we have to be very careful with the legs. Why? Because the bones are very thin, we have to handle them in such a way as to bend the joint, and with this we avoid a fracture or any damage that may occur in these animals. You can see that we have a small well because they feed from the plate and they started to suck with the water, and that is the way they feed. It is a curious fact here. We have what we call glass, but what is the purpose of this glass? The purpose of this glass is so that these animals can see more individuals or believe that it is a much larger group and thus encourage reproduction. These animals are unfortunately victims of illegal trafficking. They are very popular in the pet trade, because they have a very nice coloration and also because of the particularity of the beak. They are not very aggressive, so obviously they are not going to generate a very serious damage in the people who have them at home. This is obviously not allowed, this is illegal. These animals make nests with mud and it is a size of about 30 to 40 centimeters that they reach to make their nests. In the nests they place 1 or 2 eggs where they perch and they do the whole process of incubation of the eggs. They can live up to 25 years in the wild, and here in the zoo they can live up to 35 years. How is the evaluation of these animals done? We manage them by looking at the keel, which is the cartilage of the breast. Which is not visible and has a little protrusion, like a triangle, that is the keel. If the keel is very long or very direct, we know that the animal is thin. If the keel is not very well palpable, the animal is in an adequate condition, and thus we control the diet or the amount of feed offered to these animals, and thus we guarantee that the animal has an optimal development clearly. Another thing to keep in mind is that these animals are always far away from visitors. That is why we have so much substrate for them so that they feel more secure. Unfortunately, with this enclosure we have had a little bit of problems with the pimps, because they are animals that come and steal our diet, but fortunately we are offering them and the animals, which is precisely the purpose of a zoo. and thus promote this beautiful area, especially the animal welfare of all the animals and Promote proper nutrition. Sometimes we place crustaceans or some insects in the pond, we put some coloring, paprika, and we offer them chopped. We do different enrichments, all this so that the animals relax and have appropriate behaviors, all this with the purpose of always promoting their welfare. Throughout the week. The interns evaluate some enrichments where they already elaborate them, and they go and evaluate them, and in this way we promote the activities in the animals. It is the same when you have a pet in your apartments. You see that the animal starts to get stressed, that you buy them a little toy, a meat bone for them to chew and clean their teeth. With the animals here at the zoo we promote these activities such as food enrichment that can be, let's say, to change the time of the day, or even to change the time of the day. Food, change the presentation of the food, freeze the food, depending on what to be elaborated. We are also in the occupational cognitive part, where we can put different substrates, feathers, put leaf litter, all this to promote proper nesting. A part of physical enrichment can be to change certain structures, or put some platforms, and all this for the animal to interact more with their area or with their enclosure as such. Already social, we can talk about it already, that let's say when we do a training or an interaction with them it can be intraspecific, interspecific. Intra is with the same species, inter from one species to another. The part of operant conditioning or training, where we begin to give them positive reinforcement and thus the animal begins to be a link with us. With this we can take a blood sample or look, let's say, make them open their mouth, look at how their teeth are. This for the case of some mammals. In birds we are going to observe this. We have a sensory enrichment and we are already handling what our essence is. This as to promote smell, taste, all the sensory organs that we have. The animals have it in many occasions more developed. In this way we are contributing a lot to the behaviors of the animals. Another thing we can mention is the behavioral part one was talking about. These animals sometimes start to develop some negative behaviors, and with the enrichments we manage to reduce these behaviors by 60 to 50%. It is very beneficial that we start to promote this tool in all the productions or in all the animals that are managed in some farms or some areas where these animals are managed, so that the animals are in the best conditions, because this is how they will live much longer and they will have a more optimal condition again. You can see that in the legs they have like a little ring, because there is a term called sexual dimorphism, which is very difficult to say that one compares a female and a male and one sees the very significant differences. In birds this does not happen much. In some birds and it happens that suddenly in the peacocks one sees that the female is more opaque, more grayish, but the male turkey has a super nice, lush tail, and you can see that dimorphism or sexual difference, but the male turkey has a very beautiful, leafy tail, and you can see that dimorphism or that sexual difference. That is why the term sexual dimorphism itself, in these birds, or let's say the cetacea either. What are the parrots? Because we do not get to see this, it is very difficult to make this sexual difference. In general what we do is that we put an earring on their legs to identify which is the animal. Let's say in birds of prey sometimes there are differences. In eagles for example the females are bigger and the males are smaller. This way we can differentiate the sexes as such in the animals. That test that they say that by the cloaca is totally false. This if it cannot be done everything would have to be done with a genetic test, but it is quite difficult to determine the sex of these animals. If you see the animals they are in an adequate behavior, when they see the presence of us they always have a kind of bond with us. If you see them the animals are neither rowdy, nor running from one side to the other, you can observe that the animals are in very adequate conditions. Here at the zoo we do not have a balance between the veterinary part and the nutritional part. Why? Because this always has to be hand in hand so that the animals are in a proper condition, the nutritional part so that the animal develops properly and to make as a preventive medicine, in order to avoid excesses or deficiencies in the diets, so the animals will not present certain diseases, if they come to present due to genetic things, deficiencies or things like these. There is activated the animal health area, where they establish all the procedure and treatment to be executed, and this goes hand in hand, because when they do all the physical containment of these animals and at the moment of taking the tests to send them to the laboratory, there we will be able to show the deficiencies and treatment and the modifications that we have to make in the diets, together with the medicines that are going to be established so that the animal is in better conditions, and because we are never exempt from presenting any disease. That is why there has to be a very good link in these areas in order to improve the condition of the animals. That is why we do a medical checkup of these animals once a year, where it is like the rule that we have to go to the doctor once a year, so that we can see how we are doing, or the doctor can tell us if we are doing well in certain things or if we have to improve in certain things, and so we can improve every time. We do a restriction of all the animals and a vermifugation, which is to deworm the animals every 6 months, and in this way we control all the bacteria, parasites, everything that can manifest in these animals, and that the animals are very well. I hope you liked it. If you want you can get more information, there is at the bottom of the screen, and you can see our pages. I hope you liked it a lot.